Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. It's time for the J. Craig podcast. Playing on headphones near you.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the J. Craig. I am Jay, and I am still partnerless. Craig is still wandering around lost in the middle of the desert. Hopefully his pants are not wrapped around his head like Clark W. Griswold. But until he comes back to society and welcome back into civilization, the podcast must go on. If you're not familiar with the J. Craig, we are a movie entertainment podcast. We focus on movies, reviews, filmmaking, filmmakers, screenwriting, and a whole lot of shit you ain't never heard of. So if that sounds interesting to you, if you're watching on YouTube, on the bottom right of your screen, you're going to see that subscribe button. Go ahead and click on that red button. Take the red pill and get all of our podcast updates. You can also go to thejaycraig.com to get our full catalog of podcasts, including the two that my special guest joined on many moons ago. He was on one of our podcasts early on called the Best Decades podcast. We talked about the 60s through the 2000s and which decade had the best movies. And he also joined in on one of our early conversations, one of my favorite topics, the mighty midpoint. Bob Giera, welcome back to the J. Craig.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What is going on, man?
I forgot I was on two earlier podcasts because I was
man.
pretty drunk those nights.
Oh, that's when we used to drink. We used to get just trashed while we were podcasting and just drink all night while we made like 3 or 4 different episodes.
Back when we were young, man.
Right. So, Bob, the reason why I wanted you to come in today is we have a movie coming out in a couple weeks. Actually, maybe 2 weeks now. It's the first of 8 superhero movies this year.
This year?
This year.
Oh, wow.
Right? So that movie obviously is
Black Panther.
Black Panther. Okay.
Racist should be called Planet Panther.
Planet Panther?
Just Panther.
Just Panther?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a very good point, actually, right? So is he called White Batman?
Well, no, because we don't really know what color Batman is because he only comes out at night. But
That's true.
Black Panther. Well, I mean, the reason for the Black Panther is because he was created in the Fantastic Four and...
Black Panther was created in the Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
The first Marvel comic was Fantastic Four #1.
Okay.
That started the Marvel universe.
I didn't know that. See, that's why I brought Bob on, my comic book expert.
Yeah, it's like,
okay.
I believe it was 61. And then, like, every subsequent year there was, then there was Spider-Man and Hulk and X-Men and blah, blah, blah. But Fantastic Four was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. That was their Marvel Universe opens. That's where, like, issue 48 through 50 were the big ones where it had Galactus, Silver Surfer coming, and Galactus is coming to destroy the world.
What year is this, by the way? When these come out?
Well, so we'll say by 1950 by issue 50 or so, we'll say like 64 or 65.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it's 12 issues a year. So Black Panther was in issue 52. The thing is, a lot of characters that we're going to start to become more mainstream debuted in Fantastic Four, because whenever Kirby or Stan Lee had a new idea, they would just throw it in Fantastic Four because there was only a handful of titles.
Okay.
The Marvel Universe was very small.
Right.
And it was very interconnected like the movies are.
Sure.
Now it's so sprawling and they still try to keep it connected, which makes it, headache inducing, but
sure enough.
So at the time, that was a very groundbreaking character,
Right.
64.
Right.
So he.
And he's always come from a fictitious country, right?
Yeah, instead of making him like a, at the time it would have been like a, some dude from the ghetto or something,
right.
Stan Lee made him a king from a fictitious African nation that's like very wealthy and very technologically advanced.
Right, okay.
But
it's always been that way. So Wakanda's always been technologically advanced.
Yeah, and the reason no one ever heard of it was because it was they didn't agree with how the rest of the world was running, and they would just want to keep to themselves, keep all their technology to themselves. They just cut themselves off from the world.
Right.
And from Captain America: Civil War and from the trailers I've seen, it seems like they're gonna do the same thing. But I mean, to have that almost exact same character from that time, and transform to this time, and it still works almost perfect.
It almost works even better now, don't you think? Because the technology is actually there, plus you can take it a step forward with what they're doing. A little side bit. So I read somewhere on Facebook, because everything happens on Facebook is really awesome these days, right? Because it's so cool.
That was all fake.
It is fake.
Okay.
But at any rate, there was someone who said, "I will pay somebody $1,000 if a journalist asked Donald Trump the question,
yes,
what is your relation with, or how do you treat your relations with Wakanda?" And if he answers, I'll give you another.
Yeah. That is fantastic.
I think that's awesome.
Because he probably would answer.
He might not know anything about it, right?
Because, think of all those little countries around there that, so many people haven't heard of, and he hasn't.
Exactly, right.
He doesn't read.
So, well,
But no, the follow-up question was even funnier.
Yeah, exactly, right. Follow that question up.
Follow the question up with their handling of the international terrorist James Buchanan Barnes. Because if the audiences don't know, that's the Winter Soldier, and they left him in Wakanda at the end of Civil War.
Right, Bucky, Steve Rogers' best friend, and before he
spoilers.
Yeah, right. Well, everyone who doesn't the Drake knows there's some spoilers coming on. So we got Black Panther coming out, which I got to tell you, I know who listens to the J. Craig knows, I don't know my comic books other than what you've given me.
Yes.
Okay, so I like comic book movies depending on what it is and how good the story is. But I really, really like Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman is really good.
When I saw him in, I think I saw him first in Get On Up, the James Brown story.
It was also Jackie Robinson.
And Jackie Robinson. I saw 42, and I was like, man, this guy is really talented. Like, he's got that charisma, right?
And he even played, who did he play recently? The Supreme Court guy, the first black Supreme Court.
Clarence Thomas?
No, from like the... Oh, God.
Thurgood Marshall?
Yes, I think it was called Thurgood.
Oh, I don't even know about that. Interesting.
It was just out.
So he's played a lot of historical...
Like real people.
Yeah, he plays it, because he does a really good job. I thought he did a great job as James Brown. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing this movie, although the first trailer knocked it out. And then the second trailer came on, and I was like, it didn't really do much for me. But I'm going to give this one a huge benefit of the doubt, because I like the character.
Well, here's the thing. I'm the opposite. I like the character. I like how they handled him in Civil War. And over the years, as far as a comic book character, never really been a big fan.
Of the Black Panther?
Yeah. He almost seemed one note to me, just being a king and a superhero. Just the stories all characters are good. They're just bad writers.
Okay. Sure.
You put a good writer on a good character. So, he
did put a good writer on a bad character and make him into something
good. You can make
good.
a very good story.
Right.
So he never really did anything for me. But I really liked his portrayal in Civil War. But what really drew me into this movie is the director. And
it's the guy who did
Creed and Fruitvale Station.
And I can't remember his name now. I just
Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler, thank you. Yeah, and
that's why Michael B. Jordan is in it.
Okay, so I'm not a big Michael B. Jordan fan.
What?
Yeah, I don't like him.
Wow.
I don't like him as an actor. I don't. I liked him in Creed to a point, but I liked Creed a lot for what the movie was about and what it did and the character and the director. And when I heard that he was doing a Black Panther movie.
Where Wallace at? Oh, you never watched The Wire?
I watched a little bit of The Wire, and if Jeff Caldwell's listening to this, he's going to throw open his mouth a little bit there. I've only watched a couple episodes.
It's Wallace. Jesus, man. I've watched the whole series twice.
So when I heard that Ryan Coogler was doing, the guy who did Creed was doing Black Panther, I was like, oh, they're bringing on some good talent, right? And then they, obviously, with Tahiki, whatever his name is, who did Thor.
Watanabe.
Yeah, and then,
but
with
the
Russos,
fact that they even bring these people in. Think about whatever.
Tahiki Wahiki.
Did Where We Are in the Shadow, or What We Do in the Shadows.
And if you've ever seen that, oh my God.
Go out, just pause now and just go watch it. You will not regret it.
Give it like 30 minutes. You gotta watch, you gotta get into
it. The first 10 minutes are hilarious.
It took me a little bit of time
really?
to get into it, yeah. But once one scene came on, I was like, holy crap, this is just amazing.
It's so funny.
It
might be one of the funniest movies I've seen the past 10 years.
It is fantastic. But you're like, right, okay, so...
But it's a mockumentary. And
of vampires.
Yeah. For you to look at that and go, yeah, that's our director for Thor.
Right.
It makes no sense.
So I remember listening to a podcast or an interview with Tahiki Wahiki, if I'm murdering that, whatever.
Taika Waititi, I think.
Okay, sure. He talked about how he got the job and how he put together a trailer for Thor from a bunch of different movies. And that's what really got him the job, was showing the vision he wanted. It was showing him what he would be doing with the movie. And he took all these different movies and kind of combined them into a trailer or a scene or something like that, and that's what sold him on the trailer.
I would like to see that.
Yeah, right?
Like, what his vision is, like, what would he taken from? Because, I mean, the movie is very heavily influenced on, like, early Jack Kirby drawings. You know, it's all colorful.
I mean, I saw a lot of Flash Gordon in there, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, even the sound, or the score.
Oh, for sure, yeah. You know? One thing that I'm really surprised by with, you know, we get these comic book movies, and you have Marvel, who is been known to painstakingly make sure their vision is being told the way they want it, right? And they don't give the directors a lot of leeway. To bring in someone like him and let him do that with Thor Ragnarok, I was like, first of all, it seems bravo, like, Marvel.
Yeah, it seems like a response to, because if you recall, Guardians of the Galaxy was not a sure thing.
Oh, of course not. Yeah.
Everyone was like, well, this could be Marvel's first, you know, bomb.
Right.
No one's heard of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
James Gunn makes, you know, niche movies.
Sure.
You know, good movies, but niche movies.
Very niche
movies. And then it blows up, and then they kind of start going that way. They bring in, like, you know,
quirky
the comedy and but it's not overwhelming, you know, the way. So, like, you take
whatever. TW.
I wish I remembered his vampire name from. I just call him that.
Seriously, folks, write this down. Go type
What
in
We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows. Documentary about vampires. It's fantastic. It's hysterical.
And it just got picked up by FX to be a series.
Oh, I read that. That's awesome.
I don't know if it'll be the same vampires, but just that. Basically, anything with New Zealand people is funny.
Exactly, right? So, I'm really happy with where Marvel's going.
Oh, that was a beer.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh.
So, you know, and I've been a big... I've been hitting hard on Marvel lately when it comes to our podcast because I haven't been really happy with their choices, but ever since
you
the
like
Russos...
Thor, you like Thor, right?
Oh, I love Thor. I love the third one. I hated the first two, but I loved Thor Ragnarok, and I loved Civil War, and I loved Winter Soldier, and I was like, wow, they are doing some good films here, and they had some very talented filmmakers. And once they gave the reins to the Russos, I was like, oh man, now I'm actually looking forward to Infinity War because of them, if anything else. But when it comes down to it, I'm getting kind of tired of the saturation level of it. Just so many. There's 8 this year, 7 last year, 6 the year before that, and there's already, I think, 6 on the docket for this coming next year.
Well,
20.
It's not so much that it's saturation. Basically, comic book movies are just action movies now.
Yep.
Like, you wouldn't have said, like, you know, in 1985 that, oh, there's just so many action movies out now, you know? That's
true.
You know, that's
true.
basically where they're taking, you know, you get a real action movie like you had in, like, the 80s or 90s, you're getting something like a John Wick or Atomic Blonde, even though they're made a different way now, you know,
right,
which makes them more interesting. But it's just an action movie, you know.
Sure, that's a good point. You're
you know, so when something like that comes out now, you're like, oh.
But eight movies? I mean, that's a lot of movies in 1 year for superheroes. That's just crazy to me. But you bring up a really good point because by saying that, you're saying, wow. Well, way too many science fiction movies these days.
There's too many comedies.
Yeah, because it is a genre.
It is just a genre.
It's a genre of itself now. It's not just an action movie or an adventure movie. They are considered. It's their own genre. So
yeah, I don't know the age of your audience, but I mean, Jesus
is not our audience.
Well, and he would be an older end of the audience, but I mean the younger end.
Okay. Between
the Jesus and the babies now. Can remember a time before 2000 where if you got a comic book movie, it was just like, you didn't care how stupid it was. You just, like, Batman and Robin. That movie's utter garbage.
Yeah.
But it was like, well, I'm seeing Batman on the big screen.
Yeah, but we knew walking out of that movie, we saw a pile of shit.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those things where we were enamored with it because it was a superhero movie and we finally got another one of those because they were very few and far between back then, like you're saying. But we walked out of that movie knowing it was a shitball.
Yeah.
There was no like, okay, Phantom Menace, you know, recoil where it takes a while for you to realize it's shit. Okay, so
Phantom Menace recoil. It only took me about 5 times of seeing it in the movie theater to realize this is kind of boring.
That's what I'm saying, right? So there's that, you know, especially with Star Wars, every one of those movies up until recently, I'm not going down that road, but up until recently, I walked out of even the bad movies thinking I had a blast with them, and knowing I had a blast with them, and then you watch them again and again, and you're like, Oh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of shitty. That's a bad movie. That's actually pretty boring and pretty dumb. But it takes a while for you to get there. This movie I walked out of completely on that note, right from one. Right. So let me ask you this question, Bob.
I ain't saying nothing.
So being that you're a comic book nerd, I'm a Star Wars nerd, you're a comic book nerd.
I'm a fan of comic books.
You're a nerd.
I've been reading them since I was a boy.
You're a nerd.
Yeah.
You're a comic book nerd, to say no less.
I read novels and no one calls me a novel nerd.
Because that's not what it is, man. You're a bookworm then. Okay, different thing, right? So, okay, what is your, not favorite comic book, let's wait for that, but let's talk about the comic book movies for a second. What is your favorite comic book movie? Not necessarily superhero movie, but comic book movie.
Ooh, that's tough. Because...
We ask the hard-hitting questions here on the J. Craig.
Yeah. Because, you know what's funny is when I...
The next one is, what underwear are you wearing? That's the next question.
Like I'm wearing
it. This shit got real here.
Chicks dig me, because I rarely wear underwear.
Dig me commando.
Well, then I need to take a sip for this one.
All right, think about it.
Oh, that is not good. Well, okay, here's the thing. When I think of comic book movies, I think of superheroes.
Okay.
You know, so movies based on comics or graphic novels. I don't. My brain doesn't put them in the same place.
Then go to superhero. Then go to the superhero, because I comic book superhero, whatever. But just go with what's your favorite that came from.
Because there might be stuff better out there, you know, like Ghost World is based on a graphic novel.
Walking Dead's not a movie, obviously. The new one, the Stephen King. That's Stephen King. Yeah, Stephen King. No, Gareth Ennis.
Gareth Ennis. Oh, Preacher.
Preacher, right. Yeah. So that's also a TV show now. But so, okay, go to movies. Favorite comic book, no matter if it's
actually better for adaptations of.
Yeah, it's longer form. Yeah.
Non-superhero comic.
Right. Okay, so favorite superhero movie.
I mean, it's it's the fallback. It's the best of all time. It's Dark Knight. You know.
I mean, you can't go wrong by saying the Dark Knight.
Right, but you know what? A small part of me loves Batman Begins better. Because that was the first time I've grown up reading Batman. To this day, I still read Batman. I started in the early 400s, so I was like 11 years old, and I bought every single issue of Batman since then. To this day.
No kidding.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different variations of Batman.
But I'm talking the title Batman.
Okay.
Just Batman.
Batman. Okay.
So it's a very valuable collection now.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
A lot of stuff has happened in those issues.
Nice.
So in 2005, I went into that movie with very low expectations. Batman Begins.
Okay, thank you.
You know, I mean, to bring it back to after Batman and Robin, Batman was, as far as movies was, it was kind of done. They were going to start.
Yeah.
There was going to be a 5.
They killed it.
Yeah, and then they were going to do year 1 with Frank Miller and Darren Aronofsky.
Oh, God, yeah.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been very... He also... Aronofsky almost was on Wolverine, too.
He was on Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he left.
Yeah. Oh, he left. I didn't know how far that went into the production.
Yeah, I think that half of it's his.
No shit.
Yeah.
Like, he actually filmed?
No, the story. The story.
Okay.
You're
talking about okay.
If you watch the Wolverine and it kind of devolves into a comic book movie towards the end where he fights that,
giant
samurai.
Yeah.
But that first half is, a lot of it's taken from Aronofsky's vision.
No kidding. Yeah, I would love to see him do something like that.
Because what's his name? From Logan.
Hugh Jackman.
No,
the director. I just forgot it now.
Line.
James Mangold.
Yeah, Mangold. He came in mid production of the movie. The movie wasn't being filmed yet.
Oh.
But right before it was being filmed, like Aronofsky was all in with it.
Oh, no kidding.
I think there was a problem with he wanted an R rating and they wouldn't give it to him.
Of course, yeah. He wants to be able to go somewhere hard, go somewhere dark with it.
Absolutely. And then they come out with Logan, and then with the R rating, and it's the most successful one of all.
Right. Exactly. It just fits the character.
Yeah.
So it's just like Deadpool. You can't have a PG Deadpool.
No, that would make no sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So back to Batman Begins. So when I went to see it, I remember I went on like a Wednesday with with Laura on like an afternoon. I'm like, hey, I want to go see Batman. Come with me, and we went. And I walked out of that movie in awe. I was like, they finally put my Batman on screen.
Right.
I mean, and they explained everything as if it was happening in a real world scenario.
Right. It wasn't the Gotham that we got from the Schumachers and the Burton movie, where it was very gothic and very
over
surreal.
The top. I mean, if you watch that movie now, you know, when it came out, everyone was like how serious and dark it was. But you watch it now, and it's very much like the 60s TV show. It's almost over the top goofy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
especially as the movie went on. Yeah. Especially the last two of them. They went hard for the.
I mean, Batman Returns is not a good movie, but it's so fun to watch. It's so weird.
I really enjoyed Batman Returns. I think it's very undervalued as a Batman movie.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's darker. It's different, and I like where it goes. And I love Catwoman in it. I think she was fantastic.
Oh, she was great.
I kind of have a problem with the Penguin. He's just weird, but it is what it is. But then you go Batman Forever, and it went totally 180 in the visuals and very bright colors.
Visuals especially when they started it didn't really hit me the first time I saw it. I remember me and you saw it.
Yep. That and Batman and Robin.
Yeah, and I remember Batman Forever because we saw it before it came out.
We saw Batman and Robin before it came out too. Showcase, yeah.
So the neon colors and everything didn't affect me because it's if you watch it, the script has it's a serious story.
Oh yeah,
it's about his psychosis and everything, but it's just done in a goofy way.
Sure,
where Batman and Robin goes really goofy, but Batman Forever was supposed to be Michael Keaton.
Okay,
it was supposed to be Tim Burton. It was supposed to be Michael Keaton.
Right.
Nicole Kidman was supposed to be Rene Russo.
Oh.
I believe Robin Williams is going to be the Riddler. I don't remember anything about Two-Face. Billy D. Williams probably. He was.
I remember Robin Williams as the Riddler. I remember that.
But
it's too bad Billy D. Williams.
Burton left. They forced Burton off because they wanted it to be more. They wanted more
lightheartedness.
They wanted. They thought Batman Returns a really dark movie.
Yeah.
They had Happy Meals of it and stuff, which is ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of sexual innuendo from the Penguin
absolutely.
in that movie.
Hell yeah.
It's I want to show her my flipper trick and stuff. But that movie's so weird.
It's so weird.
So they wanted him to go more lighthearted. They wanted it to be more toyetic or whatever.
Commercialized.
Yeah. And he left, and then Keaton was like, "Well, I'm not doing it without Burton." And then they were like, "Oh, we'll get
Val Kilmer." Yeah,
which I thought he was fine.
No, I liked it, and I actually liked that movie. It is a different movie.
I actually can't watch it.
No, not anymore. Okay, no. I tried to get the boys to watch Batman and Robin just because I thought they might get a kick out of it. It was on one of my Amazon things, right? Mm-hmm. And they didn't even want to watch it.
Oh no, that's just pure garbage.
All right, so
I feel so bad for Clooney because I love Clooney.
Such a horrible movie. So when you got you got Batman Begins, you got The Dark Knight, and
now it's hard to separate them all. It's almost it is a really tight trilogy.
I can't agree with you because I despise the third movie.
I'm talking about it's a tight.
It's a story.
Yeah,
it's telling you one story.
They bring everything together.
Sure.
The stuff from one ends in three.
Right. As much as I say I despise the third movie when it's on, there's parts I can't stop watching.
Oh, I think it was great.
I really dislike the movie. It does. It's like so not realized on what he was trying to do. It's like he was trying to do too much with it. And he didn't know where he was going with it.
Yeah, he should have. It's like he knew. Okay, I'm not doing anymore. So let's do everything I want to do in one movie. Because I mean, you've got Bane breaking Batman's back. You've got No Man's Land. You got all these different storylines. You got Dark Knight Returns, where he, it's 10 years later and he's, crippled and stuff. It's like, dude, man. So he threw everything in. Like, okay, these are all the stories I want to do, and we'll do them all in one movie. And then even throw it. Although I just love the ending when she calls him Robin. Just Gordon-Levitt.
Well, there's a little moment, right?
Spoilers.
Yeah. So
I really do like that movie.
I can't. But
it's not on the same level as the other two.
No, of course.
But I think it's so fun to watch.
But like I say, when it's on,
Bane is fantastic.
I can't stop. It's Tom Hardy, man. I mean, he can be anything.
Every once in a while, I put on aside. I had a cold this weekend at work. I was like, oh, I gotta go talk to one of the ladies up front and tell her about something. I'm like, I don't want to get her sick. And then one of the guys was like, put on a breathing mask from the painter bin. So I put it on, and I'm like, no one cared who I was before I put on the mask. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. I need more nerds around me.
They have no idea. They're in a shop. They don't know what you're talking about, man. That's awesome. Okay, so you got some really good Batman stuff. Some of my favorites, I don't know if they're my favorites. It's hard for me to
Do you have a favorite?
God, as I answer that question, I'm sitting there going, oh, fuck, what's mine?
Flash Gordon.
Right?
Well, that's not a comic book.
It's not a comic book. No, it's different. Superman, I think. Dark Knight is obviously an easy one.
Superman the movie?
Just so I can go different, I'll say Superman the movie is one of my favorites. So Superman movie, if I want to go back, right? But I really have a lot of favorites of recent day, because I thought, obviously, the two that you mentioned.
Superman the movie's great.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff I don't like about it.
Well, sure, but it's because when it came out,
it's so tonally weird.
It is. It's a bizarre little movie.
It's very serious on Krypton. It's very serious on Smallville, and some of the Superman stuff in Metropolis is they take it very seriously, and then they throw in Lex Luthor. It's very goofy.
Yeah.
With
Gene Hackman.
Otto.
Yeah, and Ned Beatty.
Yeah, what was his name? Otto.
I think it was Otto.
Otis.
Yeah,
that's because he when he looks at the map and he's like, Otisburg. Otisburg. Yes, Mr. Luthor. That always made me laugh.
I gotta include that one though, because it's
the original.
It's the original one, right? It's our first superhero movie. Mm-hmm. But I also have to give a real big shout out to the Russos and Civil War and Winter Soldier, and then
Winter Soldier. Winter
Soldier's fantastic.
Winter Soldier's the Dark Knight of the Marvel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I like it more than Civil, even though Civil War has that battle at the end, which is amazing. But Winter Soldier is just a tight, awesome, different movie for a superhero movie, and I love it. And then, of course,
Winter Soldier works on its own, where Civil War, if you've never seen an Avengers movie, I don't know if that movie would work for you. Like, who are all these people,
Right, but you can watch Winter Soldier and still get a story out of it. It's a standalone. It works by itself, even though you don't have the background totally.
There's a perfect scene in that movie where Steve Rogers is walking through the Smithsonian, and they give you his whole exposition, his backstory,
right?
And it just feels like it's part of the movie.
It's actually really funny you bring that scene up, because the way that scene was supposed to play was without that, and it had a really awesome score over that particular scene, but they changed it to have that voiceover instead and took the music right out of it. Faux pas, dude. Turn that shit off.
My first time.
Third time.
Well, so first times I was drunk.
And if I got it right, they took out the awesome score that played over it. It was really, because they'd gotten rid of, they don't pay attention to music at all in the Marvel movies, and they really made that apparent, except for recently Ragnarok. They really paid no attention to music. Is not important to them in these movies.
No. Although, by happenstance, the Avengers theme is recognizable.
The theme is.
Because, they made it a big part of that.
Right. And it keeps going. Right. Know? But that's true. But the movie...
Which a lot of them don't have themes.
No, there's no themes throughout Marvel. But even the music in, Thor. Walking into Thor, I watched that first movie. Not Ragnarok. I'm talking about Thor. Excuse me. When Asgard is shown for the first time,
that's very nice.
It's not. The music is so undervalued in that scene. It's
when
almost
they show
actual
Asgard when they're...
The music should be blaring and triumphant and just
okay.
It's almost like they turned it on the 5.
I meant the score was nice.
The score could have been nice, but they don't play it. They don't make it. They don't use it.
And they don't carry them over.
No.
They
don't.
I really like the score to Captain America: First Avenger. It has
there's some good
Americana to it. It has a theme.
Sure.
Right. Dun, 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 dun,
right.
And
which they used a couple times.
They used at the beginning of Winter Soldier when they show him first running.
Sure.
And they might have showed it in that Smithsonian scene. But then they abandoned it and they went more serious action movie.
Right. So at any rate though, but the music is something that always kind of falls.
Themes are
Right.
fantastic.
Well, that's the whole part, is you want to have good music. It should be a part of the movie. It should be, but they don't want to. For some reason, they don't want to focus on that. Okay, whatever. Okay, I don't want to just talk about comic book superheroes in general, because I want to talk about just comic books in a different way here shortly. But there are 8 superhero movies coming out. So obviously we need to touch on that, right? So there are 8 superhero movies, if I got that right. And so I looked it up. I want to go over this real quickly with you. Here's coming out this year, 2018. So now we had 7 last year. 8 actually. I'm sorry, 8 if you count Batman Lego.
Did you count Atomic Blonde?
I did not.
That was a graphic novel.
Okay, see there. Okay, there you go. Okay, so we got
there's those little stealth ones in there, you know?
Right?
Like,
Exactly,
I didn't even
right.
know that.
Okay,
you know.
So we have New Mutants. We have.
Got delayed till 2019.
Is that right? Okay.
Just like last week.
Okay, so we got Black Panther, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
We got forget that last one I just said. You got Infinity Wars.
War.
That's 2. War. You have Deadpool 2. That's 3. Incredibles 2. I didn't really count that one before. Ant-Man Wasp. Venom. There's 5. Dark Phoenix is 6. The animated Superman movie, or Spider-Man movie, which I'm not going to count, but it should, because it's a movie. That should be 7. Aquaman.
Yes.
I forgot about Aquaman.
I forgot about it. Because that's not until what,
8.
December, November?
That's December 21st.
Oh.
So that's 8 superhero movies, and that's not including, stuff that might be graphic novel-wise.
Yeah, you don't
right?
even think
so there's a lot of movies coming out, and there was I think 7 or 8 last year with even with the count Lego Batman. So, but I mean, obviously it's big, so you got to talk about it. But I want to talk about just comic books.
Okay.
So let's talk about comic book adaptations first. What's your favorite adaptation from a comic book to either the small screen or the big screen?
My favorite adaptation? Well, that's tough too. I really liked the first episode of The Walking Dead.
Ooh.
Was almost pitch perfect.
Yeah.
You know, from comic to screen.
Right.
Then it just went off the rails, and I don't even watch it anymore. I heard the comics got really good though.
Oh, is that right? They're still going. They're still going with the comics.
Yeah, I think they're on like 160 or something.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I heard it's good again.
Like what number are they on in the series? Like in the TV show? Like where are they in that 160 something?
Probably in the early hundreds.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's not faithful to it exactly, so
I stopped around 100. So, and then I stopped watching the TV show a couple of years back because I'm just like, no, this is too ridiculous.
I stopped watching it only because we dropped our cable.
Oh,
and so
you'd still be watching it?
Probably.
Wow.
Probably. I don't watch a lot of TV shows, and so especially something like that.
Couldn't stand the characters. And I'm like, I don't care if any of these people die.
Well, yeah, there's always that, right? And that I don't watch a lot of TV, but lately I have been because I've been watching Electric Dreams.
Well, now you talk about adaptations. You say 8 superhero movies coming out. I mean, think of all the TV shows now that are based on comic books.
That's true too. Yeah, there's a lot, right?
And I don't even watch most of them, and I'm a huge comic book fan.
Flash, Green Arrow.
I don't watch any of the WB stuff. Supergirl,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Supergirl.
The Gifted I just started watching, which is pretty good so far. I'm only 3 episodes.
What is that? The Gifted?
It takes place in the X-Men movie universe.
Is that right? Okay. Oh, it takes place in literally the Fox.
Bryan Singer did the first episode.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they talk about like the X-Men are gone, and the government's rounding up mutants.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
So it's about like a mutant underground that's on the run.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually really good so far.
Okay.
And there's not many episodes. They're only like 10 or something.
I like when they're short like that. I don't want to watch 24 episodes. That kills me.
Preacher, one of my all-time favorite comic books. All-time. Like number 2.
I remember you guys talked about that forever.
Sandman is my number 1. If they could do an adaptation of Sandman, which I don't know how they would do.
I'm trying to remember Sandman. You gave it to me before, and I can't recall it.
It's dense. Is
that Neil Gaiman?
It's very literary. It takes a while to get into, but once you get into it, once you see the themes, it's all about just stories.
Interesting. Okay, so from what I remember of Preacher, you gave me a couple of the comics back in the day, a couple of the trades, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading them, and it never got me. Because I think, to me, comic books were always about superheroes.
Yeah, you were a Super Friends fan.
Yeah. I was
Catron likes the JLA because he likes the Super Friends.
Fuck yeah, I like the Super Friends, man. If you look at the J. Craig logo, it's Super Friends, man. It got the stars and all that shit going around.
Now, which iteration though? Were you more of Wendy and
Glick?
No, that was Jan and Jan and Janice or whatever.
God, I can't even remember
Wendy and Marvin.
See, now
remember Marvin had a green little cape and red hair. He was a ginger.
Yeah. He was like
Wendy,
Shaggy.
Yeah, Wendy wouldn't hang out with him.
So when it comes to
and they had a dog, Wonder Dog.
I don't think of either. I think of Jana and
Jace.
I think of Jana and Jace more when I think of Super Friends. I think of them as part of the team.
All I can remember is Gleek.
I don't even remember Wendy and Marvin and Wonder Dog. I don't remember them at all. So I'm not sure where they're at in that whole time frame.
I think they were first.
I think they were.
It seems very Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah. No, totally. But I was a big fan of I'm always a big DC guy, so I've always been a fan of that grouping. So when it comes to comic books, when you give me something that's like Preacher. Yeah, it's cool, but it just when I think comic books, I had Star Wars comic books, and I had G.I. Joe comic books, and I had superhero comic books.
And then you get this priest with the voice of God,
and
everything is swearing and killing.
And it was so weird, and so I just never got into it like you and Mike did. And
we thought it was the funniest thing.
Now I want to talk about another.
But the TV show, one of my favorite comics of all time. I watched the TV show.
So it's pretty accurate from what I remember, right?
It's not.
It's not.
No.
I thought it was pretty accurate from my memory from back in the day.
No, the first season was basically the first issue. So
okay.
So I was like, what is this?
Long and drawn out.
Yeah. Like, they wanted you to care about all these people in this town, and I'm just like, why are they in this town? In the first issue, this town is gone. It's blown up.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Really? That's like in the first issue.
Oh, wow.
So
and then I think I might have finished the whole season.
I mean, once I could take my mind out of the fact that, okay, they're not adapting, this is a loose adaptation. They're taking those characters and they're just like, oh, let's just do what we want with them. The same circumstances, but we'll take the long way around.
Okay, but so since it's not not true to the form of the source material, you're okay with that.
I'm trying to be.
You're trying to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very hard for me.
It's very hard. Okay. So
it's like these characters aren't acting the way
you expect them to. Right.
The situations are very strange.
Right. Okay. Well, hey, I mean, I watched it. I don't know if I watched all of it.
I can't imagine what it would be like for someone who's never read it.
It's got to be so ridiculously far out there to they can't come to grips with it. I don't know. I remember
they've had 2 seasons.
But then again, I'm kind of right there because I remember reading a couple of the issues.
Yeah, you wouldn't remember who they are.
No, so I remember some of it. I remember the guy with his head blown off or the ass face or whatever, arse face. I remember a lot of the characters. I don't remember what happened for the most part. So, but I that's one thing that I haven't got into, and I just didn't like it because comic books to me again are more about superheroes.
Yeah, no problem.
So
where for me it was always about superheroes, and then when something weird came around like that, so that's like what 1995.
I would say somewhere around there. It was high school, yeah, or after high school.
First was Sandman, where there was nothing. I never read anything like that before.
Yeah,
and you're in high school and you're looking for different stuff. You're trying to expand your horizons. Because, you feel like you're more of an adult and you want to read more adult things, And there wasn't anything out there like that,
There wasn't a lot out there.
So when I read Sandman, I felt like an intellectual. And when I was in college and I was in a mythology class and the teacher was like, has anyone here read Sandman? And I didn't raise my hand because I liked the girl that was sitting next to me and I didn't want to look like a nerd.
All right, okay. So now you're crossing into something. This is interesting. Okay, so being a comic book nerd, I know you didn't like me calling you that. Because you tried to go around that. You went around it. You don't like being called a comic book nerd. I'm okay with being a Star Wars nerd. I'm okay with being a movie
it's
nerd.
funny. Now it's not a big deal. You can't go anywhere without seeing a comic book.
Right, but before
I go anywhere and I see everyone's wearing, Captain America t-shirts and everything, Where when I had a Superman shirt in 1996, I only wore it like around the house.
Because you felt like you were going to be made fun of? They would look at you differently?
There was a stigma to it.
Okay. So when you think of a comic book nerd, it's like you're Dungeons and Dragons guy, right?
Right. A perfect example would be Chasing Amy. The movie Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
Look at how they presented comic book fans in that movie. That movie's from 97.
Right on there,
You got the big, Affleck even says it when he's at the bar with Joey Laura Adams. They're playing darts, and he's like, over or underweight guys that don't get laid. That's our bread and butter.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's written by a comic book fan.
Right. Yeah. So there's always so when you think of, but now it's becoming more mainstream, right? So it's becoming more acceptable to be able to be, to read comics, to be a fan and be outwardly.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Now this information, all I have in my head, like. I'm sitting here recording it.
Yeah, exactly, right.
But I mean, when people ask me questions, I mean, God, even when I go out with girls and they have like little sons, I'm like a god to them because I know everything about Star Wars and comic books.
Right.
Like, tell me more. I'm like,
exactly.
I should show you my figures. That sounded so weird.
That sounded bad. Strike that from the record. Strike that. Okay.
Edit that.
Yeah, no, I stated.
I was talking about the moms, not the kids.
Yeah. MILFs. Is that right? Okay. So.
Yes, I'm single, ladies. If you're listening to this, I'm sure you have no women listeners. But
Bob Giera is single. That's right.
And I look better than my voice.
Just DM me. Did I say that right? Because I got the verbiage right there. Okay, so when you talk about comic books now, and there's a lot of adaptations now. You have, like you said, Preacher. You have Walking Dead, Atomic Blonde. I didn't know. I Am Legend, also a comic book adaptation.
No, that was a novel. That was a novella.
Graphic novel.
No, it was a novella.
A novella. What is that then? What is that?
A novella is a small novel, like 200 pages.
Oh, really? Oh,
it was adapted
into a graphic novel,
yes.
And then into the movie.
I Am Legend, yeah, and then the movie totally.
Because isn't it really Omega Man? Doesn't it come from that in the first place?
The novella is called I Am Legend.
Okay. But it all comes from it's
Omega Men is adapted from I Am Legend.
Oh, so I Am Legend came out before Charlton Heston's.
Yeah,
Omega
it's an
Man.
adaptation.
That's that old. Okay.
And they did something weird with it, like. I never saw Omega Man. Did you?
No, I saw parts of it.
Like, it's not vampires though, right?
Nah, no, I don't think so. I don't think they're vampires.
And then even in this one, it's not vampires.
Yeah, they're like a mutant vampire-ish.
And then they ruined the whole movie. Don't even get me started on that movie.
All right, let's move on. Okay. But there's a lot
for everyone out there who likes that movie. Read the book. The ending is amazing.
I read the graphic novel that I believe you let me read one time. So I'm trying to think of some other things that I know there's a lot of other adaptations out there from comic book form that are not superheroes. So what are some more that have come out onto the big screen or small screen?
That have come out?
Yeah.
Or that are coming out?
Come on, let's go. Either way.
Coming out.
Really? So what's up?
I mean, pretty much everything's in...
Don't go to coming out yet, because I want to talk about one of my favorite series I read here shortly. But I know there's a couple more. It almost seems like John Wick is a comic book adaptation, right? Or
no, but now it's a comic book.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now they're going backwards. Instead of having a comic book turned into something else, or they're no, that's always been the case because Star Wars had its own comic book series afterwards.
Star Trek,
right?
Anything. Planet
What came first, G.I. Joe comic or G.I. Joe toy line? I'm talking the 6-inchers, 3.5 inchers.
Same time.
3 1/4.
3 and 3. 3 3/4.
3 3/4. That's right. Say it again. I didn't hear your answer.
Say it again. That came out the same time. It came out in 1982.
Okay, so
remember? I mean, that was part of the pitch of the figures.
I don't remember the comic book. I remember the cartoon and the toy line at the same time. I don't remember the comic book.
The pitch for the figures to get them out there was that we'll have a comic book.
Oh, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah,
okay.
And Marvel was going to publish it because Hasbro said, we'll advertise the comic book. There's no such thing as advertising comic books.
Right.
So they advertised the figures and the comic book at the same time.
I see.
So then when they tried to sell it to the president of Hasbro, they're like, we got a comic book and we got
a toy line.
A toy line.
Yeah,
and
then a cartoon coming out.
And then a cartoon coming. It was like a limited series.
So, folks, if you have not seen The Toys That Made Us on Netflix, and if you grew up in the 80s, you need to watch that show. It has 4 episodes: Star Wars, G.I. Joe, He-Man, and Barbie. It talks about how it came about. It really focuses on just an amazing backstory on where these toy lines came from. So definitely check it out. I mean, now they have another series coming out, another season coming out with Lego, Transformers, Hello Kitty, and then Star Trek toys. So, but I highly recommend it. It's really addicting and it's really fascinating. But I digress.
Yeah.
When we
even watch the Barbie episode.
Oh, for sure.
So,
Well, very informative.
Who would think that would be that interesting? Because I did not have any interest in Barbies, and I'm like, I'm
gonna watch it because I'm gonna watch Hello Kitty,
and it's all based on a pornographic doll.
Exactly, right. Okay, so all right, where were we at? We're talking about adaptations. Okay, so anything else out there that comes to mind?
Oh, based on graphic novels. Let me think what I have. What's that? Oh, there's a show called Happy on Sci-Fi right now.
Happy, okay.
That's based on a Grant Morrison graphic novel, which was only 4 issues long, so it's not very long. I haven't got a chance to watch it yet. I downloaded it. Runaways is on Hulu.
Runaways. That's I read a little bit of that, and that was pretty cool.
That's
about
Brian K. Vaughan.
The kids of superheroes.
Supervillains.
That's right.
Yeah, they find out, this group of kids finds out that their parents are part of a group of supervillains. We haven't heard of them. It's in the Marvel Universe. We haven't heard of them because they're in L.A. and all the Marvel Universe takes place in New York.
Right.
So they decide, well, we can't be part of this because they're actually good kids, and they run away together.
Right. Yeah, it's really cool.
And it's really good.
I remember reading that, and I was very fascinated by it. Here's a couple more. Adapted. Road to Perdition. Wanted. Old Boy. It's a Japanese comic.
Oh, it was based off a manga? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
I thought the manga was based off the movie.
Exactly, right? Barbed Wire with Pamela Anderson. The Fountain, Darren Aronofsky. I didn't know that was based on a comic book.
He did it at the same time.
That's Vertigo. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember that.
Oblivion with Tom Cruise. Didn't see the movie. Didn't do anything for me, or at least trailer-wise.
I liked it.
Did you really?
It's very slow, but it's and methodical. But there's a reason for it.
Okay. Well, that came from a comic book, apparently.
What?
History of Violence is a comic book adaptation. I remember that. I remember about that.
It's not like the movie.
No, it's different for sure.
Road to Perdition was pretty close.
Yep. Two Guns.
Yeah, never saw it.
Didn't know that. And then a whole lot of shit. Bulletproof Monk.
Ooh.
Cowboys and Aliens. Ghost World you mentioned earlier.
What was that one?
Whiteout.
Oh yeah, that was a good
Push.
story.
Barbarella.
Barbarella?
Weird Science was?
No, Weird Science was a anthology. Every issue had different stories.
30 Days of Night, I knew that.
Oh, 30 Days of Night.
Right? The Mask, maybe that came out at the same time. R.I.P.D.
No, The Mask is based on the comic.
Okay. Howard the Duck, obviously. The Rocketeer. All right, and there's 40 of mine. I'm not going to keep going. That's it. That's the end of it.
Rocketeer.
So, not being a big comic book reader myself, because you've given me everything I've ever read for the most part, I found a bunch of comics that I've had here, like old ones, like Batman's and Star Wars comics, stuff like that, some G.I. Joes. So Levi is now 6, and reading's very important, right? So we read every night books, but I've been getting him comic books, and I got him the Darth Vader. Starting the second series of the Darth Vader series.
Yes.
And it's freaking cool. It's really, really cool to dive into the stuff that we already know, but not know, and seeing it from a comic book point of view.
That's the one that takes place after Revenge of the Sith, right?
I believe so. Yes, because he's just making his lightsaber.
He just became Darth Vader.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the first series takes place after Star Wars.
Right, that's where the first episode he meets
he's
Jabba.
Looking for Luke Skywalker.
Right, because the first episode he goes to Jabba's palace.
Yeah, he's looking for whoever blew up the Death Star.
Right,
because he felt something.
Exactly. So I thought it was really cool. So I did that for myself. I bought that myself a while back. The first episode of that first series, and I was like, "This is really cool." Mm-hmm. Then when I got Levi into it, I didn't realize it was a different series altogether.
Yeah.
And so I picked up like a couple different random, 4 and 5, and I was like, "This is really cool," but it's definitely not the same time frame. Okay, this is totally different. But I love the fact that you're seeing the stuff that we've always wanted to see. That we've never not necessarily ever wanted to see, but we're seeing the things that we've never seen.
Yeah, it's the only way we're going to see it.
Right.
Exactly. Now that Disney has it under that one umbrella, everything that's either in the comics or the novels is canon. It's actually happening.
Wait. Take that back again. Say that again.
Everything that Disney, now that it's all under Disney, Disney owns Marvel, right, and they have their book publishing. They have a group of people that oversees the entire story of Star Wars.
Okay.
So when a comic comes out, it has to pass them, and it has to happen at this particular time. Everything is, like every novel, takes place at a certain point, and it has to match up with what's going on in the rest.
Interesting. But so then, how come they don't care about what the story is for this trilogy of movies? They obviously have no idea where they were going with it. They're writing fresh material for a movie, and then they're going to say, I don't care what happened in this one, we're going to make this movie. So they obviously don't have... That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it's more of everything that's happened up till Force Awakens.
Okay, and then they decided to shut it off.
And then the filmmaker that they give it to gets to do the next chapter.
And without any foresight of where the story's going.
As far as
so J.J. Abrams comes in and says, "Oh, mystery box, we're gonna have all these big questions," and then Rian Johnson comes in and says, "Whatever." Okay.
I have no comment.
Okay. Moving on.
That's a 3-hour podcast.
Seriously, I don't want to go there. I'm already exhausted talking about that. So, okay, how about this? So, one of my favorite all-time series, thanks to you, that I read, and I think I read the entire series. Without a doubt, I can't wait till they make this movie, or maybe a TV show, is Y: The Last Man.
Yes.
That is awesome. And folks, if you're not into comic books, or if you are and you haven't heard of this, go read Y: The Last Man.
If you're not into comic books, especially, it's one of the books I have a few volumes of the first volume, the first 6 issues, and I give it to people all the time, especially females. Women love it because
interesting.
It's a story about the last man on Earth, not for comedic effect like the TV show The Last Man on Earth.
Right.
It's if one guy was left on Earth and women were all that was left.
Right.
It's not like, oh, I get to hook up with every girl alive. No, it's almost like a horror story.
Right. Because they want to kill him. Some want to kill him. Some want to save him. Yeah. There's all these different factions of women. Yeah. Some are Amazonian, where they cut off one of their breasts. And then there's the other faction where they're trying to save him. And his
entire drive of the story is his girlfriend was in another country. Like something happened where some kind of disease happened, or where everyone with a Y chromosome died, except for one dude and one monkey.
Yeah, it's because they were together, isn't it? Like there's something special between them.
Yes, and. So when all this happens, chaos ensues, obviously, because men control the world.
Did I just spoil that? Like, did I just give away a huge spoiler?
Not really.
Okay.
Because they are alive. There's some reason they're alive.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, exactly. Okay.
And so the first thing he thinks of, his girlfriend was, they're in college, and she was away in, I forget what country it is. I haven't read it in a while. And his entire journey was based on going to find his girlfriend.
Right.
Or fiance or whatever. And so then it's basically a trek across... Maybe it was just across the country, not across the world. I really have to read it again.
I think it was cross country. It seems like really hard for him to try to
go overseas. Yeah, it would be hard to go overseas.
Right.
So that's the crux of it. And it's a road story.
It's a road story, but it's fantastic. But there's a lot of pulp culture references, a lot of movie references. Like every time this guy talks... Y, which I forgot his full name.
Yorick.
So every time he says something, it's like from a movie.
Yeah,
it's
like
a quote.
Pop culture.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's a magician.
Yeah. But it's a fascinating story, and I remember that, like, I riveted. That was one of those things that a page turner, man. I could not wait to read the next issue.
Yeah, the way Brian K. Vaughan writes, it's very episodic. Every issue ends on a cliffhanger where you can't wait to find out what happens again.
But isn't that's the whole point, right? Comic books is that cliffhanger.
Yeah, to get you to come back the next month.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you want to keep coming back.
But that's the same thing with TV shows. Get you to come back the next week.
Right.
I mean, and even more so until... with like binge watching where you don't want to stop watching.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Do you know what I picked up? I don't know if you've ever seen this. We're talking about comics, and I picked this up when I was picking up Levi's because I'm going to pick up something for me too. And it's
Old Man Jack.
Old Man Jack. Take that home with you. It's about Jack Burton from...
I thought it was a comic about your dad.
That's not very interesting. No, it actually probably would be. It'd be very interesting. So with Why the Last Man, what's the status of this turning into something?
Last I read, it is being adapted by some writer, and FX has the
Really?
FX, has the rights to it.
Almost ashamed it's not AMC. You know, like they make...
FX makes great shows.
Do they really?
You ever watch Fargo?
Ooh! I actually caught a couple episodes on the old airplane, and man, really fucking good.
Fargo's fantastic.
Oh, it was season 2 I caught, and I just caught 2 episodes, and I was like, holy, maybe 2 or 3, whatever they had there, and I was like, this is really great television.
Yeah, man.
Oh my god. That was amazing.
Season. That's a prequel to the... Actually, I mean...
This is all prequel to the Fargo story?
The second season is a prequel to the first season. But I mean, it's a separate story.
So this has nothing to do with Fargo the movie?
Loosely.
Loosely.
It's in the same world.
Same world, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, at least there's that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, no, I did finally catch it. Okay,
like,
so
if
FX
you didn't see Fargo the movie... it wouldn't matter.
Okay.
But they throw in all sorts of little Coen things in each episode. Right? Yeah. Where you're, like, if you're a Coen fan, you'll be like, yeah, that's funny. You know?
I really enjoyed it, and I know I never been able to watch it because I don't have cable, so I don't have FX, obviously. So haven't caught it, but I need to find it again and
we're talking Breaking Bad type good.
Really?
Yeah, and shorter. So I mean, it's like a very tight.
Nice
story.
Nice. Okay, so now I have to find that. I have to find a way to watch that. Okay, so
I have ways.
You have ways.
Yeah.
So say again. So the FX now has the rights.
Yes, they have. Yeah, they're creating. This writer's going to create the show, and then they're going to be able to pick it up or pass.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's been in development forever.
Because that can't be a movie.
It's been.
Jeez. Another meteor jump by shit. Mm-hmm. So that can't be a movie. You got to make that a TV show, 100%.
Yeah, and that's what's great about this. I mean, besides the fact that there's way too much stuff out there to watch, where I can't even watch anything anymore.
Right. You can be very picky.
There's so many outlets now for TV shows. A lot of these stories are better off in long form.
100%.
You know.
Yeah.
Even Watchmen, which, you know, was 12 issues, and they condensed it down to, I mean, the director's cut's like 3.5 hours, and I thought it was a
great adaptation from what I remember.
Yeah, it's a good effort. It's really well done. But now they're going to do an HBO version.
Oh.
You know.
Who's helming that, do you know?
Damon Lindelof.
Fuck off.
At leleast he can't fuck up the ending. You know, it's an adaptation. It's not its own thing. You know, it's not Lost.
If I had a curly mustache, I'd be curling it right now.
Yeah, no, he is terrible.
Okay, yeah, seriously, man, guys, he's horrible for story.
Apparently, people like The Leftovers, though, his HBO show.
Never heard of that one.
There's 3 seasons. I never watched it because it's Damon Lindelof.
Yeah, right. I just,
I hear that name and I'm like, I gave you 6 years of my life, motherfucker. This is what you do to me.
You're talking about
Speaking
Lost,
of Lost, and we're talking about Brian K. Vaughan, who did Why the Last Man. He wrote from Why the Last Man. Lost picked him up to write for Lost.
No kidding.
As one of the writers in the writers' room, he wrote some of the best episodes. You remember the one where, who's the Scottish guy? Remember who was in the hatch?
Yeah, Damon. No,
started with a D. Yeah. Desmond. The episode where he keeps going back in time. He keeps reliving things over and over again. Yeah. Brian K. Vaughan wrote that episode.
Is that right?
Yeah. The best episode. There was like he wrote like 2 or 3, and they were the best episodes.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I know Rian Johnson did a couple episodes of Breaking Bad, if memory serves, or at least 1 or 2.
He did the second from last episode, which was one of the best, and he did that one where they're stuck in that room, the fly one.
That's a great episode. So the second to last episode of Breaking Bad, is that where he said goodbye to his kids? Was that the last episode?
I think the second episode. The second from last episode was better than the last episode.
Because when he said goodbye to his kids...
I'm pretty sure it is.
Without saying goodbye to him.
He sets everything up for everyone.
I mean, it was heartbreaking watching him watch his son walk away, knowing that's the last time he's going to see his son. I mean, it was...
I remember he has the fake gun pointing at the guy who the rich guy that was his business partner. He has the... He shows him that there's a sniper out there with it on his arm. It's not even it's just a laser.
Yeah.
It's the episode where he's tying everything up.
Okay, that's a great episode. Yeah. Okay, so he did that. Okay, so you talk about Brian K. Vaughan a lot. You mentioned his name a couple times. Why?
Well, you had Why the Last Man.
That's Brian K. Vaughan?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and Runaways.
Oh, my goodness. What else? What else has he done?
So anyway,
twirling my mustache to get over here.
So Why the Last Man. So with books like Why the Last Man it's a 60-issue finite series, it would play out so much better in the medium that we have now with all the different the Hulus, the Netflix, what have yous. So, and in the comics in general now, there's a lot of Image comics that are creator-owned, that are very episodic. I mean, some of them even seem like they're movie pitches or TV show pitches.
Yeah.
They're so episodic,
It's interesting you say that.
But, but when Brian K. Vaughan, after Why Last Man, then he went to Lost, and he didn't write for a while in comics. He did TV. He came back in, 2014 or whatever, with Saga. And I was like, does he still have it,
Saga. I picked up a couple of issues of those back in the day.
Oof, man, this guy comes back. You read that first issue, and it's double size, and it's a fully realized world.
Yeah.
And it's so well written. They're on, 45 right now.
Is that right?
And every issue is just... I mean, the guy hasn't lost his stuff. He's actually better.
I walked into a comic book, the Vault Past Midnight over in Ann Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
And we were out there for one reason or another, and I walked in.
They have one in Detroit now.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I asked the guy, I said, I'm looking for something, what can I buy? Show me something. And he asked me a couple, what do you like? And I said, this and this. And I don't remember what I told him, but he's like, all right, come with me. And he walks me around and shows me Saga. He's like, you'll like this.
If I had a comic book store, no matter who came in and said, show me something, I'd be like, here's Saga.
Right. That's Why the Last Man first. That's my first one. Go watch that.
Why the Last Man I give to females first.
Ladies that you want.
Ladies
you want to bang?
No, that haven't read comics.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just go sexual. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course I want to bang them, but that's besides the point. They are female. They are alive. My two priorities.
Comic books and ways.
She's alive and she's female. Okay.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, that's all I need.
You got that going for you. All right, so good.
Unless I'm really drunk.
So you need to be the last man.
Ooh. The last man for them, if you know what I'm saying.
So tell me about Saga. So Saga comes out, it blows your mind.
Yeah, because it's such a fully realized world. It's a fantasy story, sci-fi fantasy, with characters that, I mean, it's very weird, very strange, but very familiar.
Okay.
Which it's adult. I wouldn't give it to a kid.
Oh, for sure. I remember. Yeah, I read 2 issues.
But I'm not saying it's similar than Star Wars, but the thing about Star Wars and it has in common is it puts you in a different world, in a different universe with all sorts of strange creatures and things, but you have characters that you can relate to.
Right.
Right. And that's the heart of the story. You relate to these characters.
Okay.
Yeah. As they're going on this journey. I don't want to say anything else to spoil it for anyone.
That's fine. Yeah.
I want people to read it. And it would make for a very expensive TV show, but
for sure it's sci-fi, yeah.
But in this day and age, if you watch that new Star Trek or anything, they can obviously do stuff. I mean, even if you watch a show like The Good Place on NBC, okay, there's special effects in this half-hour comedy show where you're like, well, they couldn't have done this 20 years ago,
So 45 episodes in. 45 issues in. Gotta get my verbiage right here. We're talking about comic books. I'm gonna get eaten alive here. How long is your typical comic book series run?
Well, I mean, Marvel or DC, they're infinite. That's
so the superheroes, right? Okay, they're always infinite.
The copyright,
and then they can go with another side story.
They do have limited series, 12-issue series, 6-issue series here and there, but the creator-owned stuff, which is
you say creator-owned.
Creator-owned is or we'll take like a Brian K. Vaughan or a Neil Gaiman or Garth Ennis, like Preacher is 60 issue or 66 issues, and it's creator-owned because the creator came up with this idea, pitched it to the company, and they just published it. Now with Image is different. Image is where the creator comes up with a story, pitches it to Image. Image says, we'll print it for you. You don't make any money up front. Until Image recoups their money from printing it, you get everything after that.
Okay.
So it's all owned by the writer and the artist.
Okay.
That's creator-owned.
Okay.
Now, majority of creator-owned comics are finite series. There'll be 60 issues or 25 issues where only a few go on forever, like Spawn. Like Todd McFarlane will never let Spawn die because that's like his...
Is that still going?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they're on like almost 300.
Oh my god. Okay.
So I think he said Saga was gonna last maybe 60, 75 issues.
Oh, 2/3 there almost.
Yeah. There was one called Scalped, which I think you would like. It was like
sounds like a western.
It takes place on a Indian reservation. Nowadays, it's almost like Sopranos on a Indian reservation.
Oh, I was gonna say Wind River. Okay.
No.
Snubbed, by the way. Oscar snubbed. It's unfortunate. Oscar snub.
I don't know if Elizabeth Olsen needed one, but
give me the director, writer, film. One of those three. Director.
I can't really say anything about the snub yet until I've seen all the actual Best Picture nominees.
I saw one that we saw last night.
And you saw the post.
I saw the post, which deserves to be up there, but it's actually, I think the post is only up there because of what the story is telling.
And it's Spielberg.
Absolutely. But it's the story about fake news and the relation to fake news. That's what it's about.
It's very timely.
Yeah. That script's been sitting somewhere. I don't know if that script was written just recently or if that script has been sitting somewhere and they're like, hey, we have a story in our vault that's perfect for this time frame right now. Because that's what they buy up stories. They have stories sitting in their vaults, waiting to be told one day, and then something happens, and they're like, we got that story. We got a volcano movie. Let's make this one. We have a Wyatt Earp movie. Let's make that one. All right, so Brian K. Vaughan. We're talking about creator-owned
story.
Hey, can I tell you a little side story?
Yeah.
So I wrote a screenplay with Craig. Craig and I wrote a screenplay.
Who's this Craig?
Craig Miller, the guy who's lost in the middle of the desert. Right? Oh. He's going to be back eventually here, and we're going to be rocking it again.
Oh, okay.
He's just unable to record with us just right now. I say he's lost, but I think he's found. So, Craig and I wrote a screenplay called The World Above, which was a zombie post-apocalyptic epic.
I remember.
And we thought about pitching it to artists to make a comic book series out of it first. Because we pitched it at a conference in L.A., with a couple of those screenplays we were pitching, and we was a 3-minute pitch session. So you get like, no, not 3 minutes. It was like you get like a minute pitch to all these different companies.
Is it like an elevator pitch? Like this is Star Wars meets.
No. It was like you give them your log line, you give them your pitch, you talk about it, you try to get their interest.
Okay.
And we did our Western to Tony Scott's Scott Free.
Yeah.
And where we learned he was doing his own Searchers.
He did?
No, but that's what the guy told me. He's like, he's doing his own Searchers right now.
He probably was.
This is a very timely thing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Anyway, we did an animation movie to the DreamWorks people. Mm-hmm. And then we did a lot more, and then we did 3 movies through a lot of different companies. But one of them was to several companies that would, something that zombie-ish would fit in with. And we thought about going comic book.
Yeah.
And we thought that would be a great idea because, when we went to one of our Comic-Cons.
Yeah, Chicago?
No, it wasn't Chicago. I think it was the Motor City one.
Okay.
Maybe. But I remember going around to the Artist Alley and picking up different artists bio, little...
Yeah, that was
because I wanted to see... I found a couple that would have been perfect for what we were doing. And
it was a perfect idea.
Yeah.
It was actually ahead of its time.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Right, which is...
Because that was like, what, 07, 08?
Yes. Yeah, probably somewhere around there. Yeah. So, at any rate, I just wanted to... The whole creator thing issue.
Yeah, and I remember that story because I remember there was like gonna be like a gladiator game type thing, and I was like, dude, just read that in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah. So you gotta change it. You gotta find a way to make it different.
Great minds think alike.
Right, but that's what you gotta always you gotta look at your subject matter. Like if you're writing comics, you gotta make sure you're reading comics. So you know that you don't want to copy somebody. You want to if you're gonna do something similar, make it different.
Yeah.
So you gotta know that stuff. So at any rate, that was my little side story.
Well, I mean, it's but that Walking Dead thing with you having gladiator games and then the governor having gladiator games.
Right.
There is a lot of similarities in stories now.
For sure.
And it
almost... Well, every story's been told and everything's been done. You just how you approach it, how you present it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, take Brian came out with another series. Not too long ago, almost 2 years ago, called Paper Girls.
Paper Girl. I'm actually holding it in my hand right now. You brought a couple.
I brought him a first issue because I want him to read it. What's interesting about this one is that it takes place in 1985.
Okay.
Don't look at it.
Oh.
Oh. Well, it could spoil something for you because his books,
what it looks like.
have last pages. That you
don't
want to.
Okay. Oh, my goodness.
So,
my goodness.
Yeah, it takes place in it takes place in 1985. It's about a group of girls that are paper delivery people.
Okay, hence Paper Girls.
Yeah, but as far as I was saying similarities, it's not. It just happened to come out at a similar time as Stranger Things. In fact, it might have came out before.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So this kind of embodies that?
Yes, but in more of where Stranger Things is more of a ode to, say, 80s Stephen King novels.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Very much so.
That in...
Well, I mean, 11 is Firestarter, basically. She has mental powers. That's right. Firestarter.
Right.
It was about a group of college students, and that was the baby that was taken was Firestar, whatever. Drew Barrymore. And she comes back with the Firestar going after the government.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, even this season, if you haven't seen it, they add a new girl to it, which is the same thing that happens in It. They add a redheaded girl to their group of guys.
Really? I love Max.
And they don't want to let girls into their group. I mean, it's very Stephen King driven. Where Paper Girls, instead of a group of boys, it's a group of girls. Sure. They're all paper girls. But it's more sci-fi as opposed to horror. It's more has a sci-fi bent to it.
Interesting.
So it's not derivative. I mean, they're all derivative. All these writers now are in their late 30s, 40s, where they're writing stories about childhood, and it's the 80s.
Yeah, so it's something
because you can't write stories about childhood now because you just have a bunch of kids sitting around looking at their phones.
Right.
You know, where in the 80s you didn't stay home. You know, it was punishment to stay home. Where now it's punishment to go outside.
Yeah, weird. Weird.
It's very weird.
Which is why I watch something like Black Mirror and Electric Dreams is
Yeah.
so awesome because it shows you our folly and where we're heading. And the inherent problem with humans right now, or with technology.
And don't forget those Philip K. Dick stories that were written, 40 years ago?
Exactly.
I mean, the guy was like a freaking Nostradamus.
I know you've watched the first episode of Stranger.
Yeah, but I've read a lot of Philip K.
Okay.
Dick, you know?
So you're going to watch the rest of these episodes.
For sure.
And you're going to say, oh, wow, I know that story. Hell, episode 2 is Terminator.
Okay.
In a way.
Right.
It's called Alphax. That's the Terminator one. I remember yesterday.
Yeah, and I told
And, you said that's a Philip K. Dick story in a way.
Yeah. Cameron... A lot of people say that Cameron took that story. I mean, it's a very common...
Right. Well, it's not like Star Wars says it's taken from Joseph Campbell, story by Joseph Campbell.
Right.
You know,
it's the hero's journey.
Exactly, right, exactly. So, but okay, so where were we going with that? We just got a lot of Paper Girls, things happened in the 80s.
Just like stories now are taking place in the 80s because the writers are writing about their childhood and stuff like that.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
And that's why I like Why the Last Man. He's like me.
Yeah.
He's like a guy who would talk like me. A guy who thinks like me.
Because when Vaughn wrote it, he was probably in his mid-20s, and the main character is in
the
mid-20s.
Same age I was when I was reading that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like that. I mean, that's what it is now. I mean,
Exactly.
our whole world is being run by people our age now, and it's all based on nostalgia.
Yeah, well, hence Stranger Things. Exactly,
Yeah.
right. So so obviously comic books have always been superheroes to a point, and then when did it start? What was the first non-superhero comic? Not maybe Archie, but let's get away from Archie.
Well, there always were.
Really?
Superheroes weren't first.
Oh, is that right?
No. Superman was the first superhero comic. There was comics before that.
Okay, I know like the comics in the newspapers
and
stuff
they,
like
and
that.
they went through... Yeah, and they went through ups and downs, like when they thought...
But I'm talking comic books like this, like the trades, like, something that you can actually pick up at the store. Not something in a newspaper. Like the serials or the comic strips. I'm talking about comic books.
Well,
Does that still hold true?
Yeah, I mean, well, like in the 50s, no one really read superhero comics. They read romance comics and westerns and science fiction comics.
Okay, that's right.
And horror comics.
Got it.
And then, then superheroes came back. And then superheroes dominated for so long.
Yeah.
And then there was always, on the fringes, there was always independent alternative comics.
Okay.
But as tastes got older and more mature, like when stuff like Sandman came out that I was talking about before, and Preacher and all those Vertigo comics, 100 Bullets, and when Image first started, it was basically just artists from superhero comics wanted to start their own company and get all the money for themselves, but they just made derivative characters of the characters they were drawing. Like Todd McFarlane was drawing Spider-Man, he made Spawn, looks just like him. Rob Liefeld was making X-Force, he makes Youngblood. Jim Lee was doing X-Men, he makes Wildcats.
Okay. Yeah.
Which was huge for a while, and then slowly people didn't buy it anymore.
Okay.
They realized artists can't write.
Right.
I mean, they can now, but they couldn't then. But, excuse me. So as the turn of the century, Image wasn't really doing anything, so they started, maybe we'll start focusing on writers.
Huh.
And that's kind of when it happened. Slowly and surely, they did it. No one really paid attention. Walking Dead came around. No one really paid attention. The first issue probably sold 5,000 copies.
Oh.
But every month, it was a little more. So, eventually, by the time it was on, like, issue 50, it was up there with, like, the big superhero movies.
No kidding.
Yeah. So, people started courting writers, good writers from Marvel and DC, pitch us something,
Right.
And then this stuff happened,
Nice.
Image happens. You get all these Image comics. You get
Is Image also Invincible?
Invincible is
a really cool comic.
Invincible is written by
Brian K.
No. How strong is that beer? Robert Kirkman.
No shit. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's right. Robert Kirkman of The Walking Dead. That's right.
Yeah, and I was looking at some before I came over. I'm like, what would make good series? You have Southern Bastards.
Ooh,
that one you would like.
Southern Bastards.
I have to give you that. That's
okay.
It's about a small town in Alabama.
I love how you say that, by the way.
Alabama.
Alabama.
Yeah. Well,
Alabama's quick.
Yeah.
Alabama.
I met a girl from Alabama once.
I met a girl from Alabama.
I did. That's how she talked. Where it's a cool premise. Because the biggest thing in Alabama in this small town is the high school football team.
Well, of course.
You know, and the coach of the football team is also like the boss of the town, like almost like a mob boss.
Okay.
You know, where he runs everything.
All right.
And no one wants to fuck with him because they don't want to fuck with the football team.
Sure.
You know, so it's like this crime story with football background.
Interesting.
In Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd like it. You'd like it a lot.
Okay. What else? No, by the way, are these things that you like or that you see that turn into movies?
I see them turning into TV shows.
TV shows, okay, right. Because as you established, it's better to have these in long form.
These Image creator-owned stories would play out way better because they're serialized.
Right. That's the thing is...
you can't take a 50-issue story and condense it into 2 hours.
You can have the first couple
You can't say I'm having a trilogy if the first movie doesn't do any box office, you know?
Exactly right. So the time is now for comic books to become on TV because longer form works for them.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So what else you got?
There's one called Cannibal.
Sounds meaty.
Stupid. Can't believe I laughed at that. It's the beer, ladies and gentlemen. Catron is not funny. No, Cannibal is... So, you had the whole zombie fad, and people are sick of it. So this story is about... There was like oil drilling or something, and it went so far down, it unleashed a form of mosquito into the world, and that's been dormant for thousands of years.
Okay.
And a few people got stung by it, and this virus came into them.
Okay.
Now, they don't become zombies. They're still alive, and they still know what they're doing, but they crave human flesh.
Okay.
So, that's the story.
Okay, so it gets rid of the zombie aspect as far as the mindless...
So society's still going on.
Get rid of the mindless monster.
But there
part.
is this... Yeah. This, Ebola thing going around.
So they want to eat people. They want to eat flesh.
Yeah, and you don't know that, it could be, your neighbor.
So how do the people act, though? So do they they're not zombies, obviously, so they're not walking around...
They suddenly have this urge to eat human flesh.
And then they'll kill people for that, and they'll just...
Yeah, and then they'll realize what they did, and they'll try to hide it,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so uncontrollable urge where it just kind of... Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, interesting concept.
Uh-huh.
I think it would make an interesting show. I've only read 4 issues of it, but I thought the concept was really good because, like I said, the zombie thing is it's overdone by now.
But isn't it its own genre now, man? Just like superheroes.
Yeah, man. I guess it is, man. No, that's true. That's true. But I mean, I just like a different spin. That they're still cognizant of what they're doing. They're not dead.
So are you more of a slow moving zombie or a fast moving zombie kind of guy?
I think fast moving zombies are scarier.
They are scarier because you can't just
I don't think zombies are scary in any way, shape, or form.
Well, it's the mass. It's the number of them that's scary.
Right.
They just keep coming. But
I think it's the post-apocalyptic world that I'd have to live in, where I would just be like, I'm good. I'm gonna dolph myself.
Right.
There's no electricity anyway.
When we picked these movies, Craig and I, we did Walking Dead or the World Above, and the first pitch we did, I forgot what company it was for, and the guy says, he stops us when we first start talking, first 10 seconds, and he goes, "Are they slow moving zombies? Or are they fast-moving zombies?"
I'd like to know that.
And he dominated the entire conversation. I was like, damn it.
Well, think about it. That's not.
I'm a slow moving kind of guy.
Right, but that's not long after the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Exactly. That's exactly right. When they well, before that, 28 Days Later.
Right.
But they were the zombies. They just had like
2003, 2004. Yeah.
Exactly. So at any rate, slow moving fast. We always make fun about that. So okay, so you got something that's a different type of zombie tale. What else you got? You got a football tale.
No, it's Alabama tale.
Alabama tale.
Come on, don't sell it short. Hack Slash, I always thought would make a great TV show. Maybe not even a TV show on like Netflix or anything. I think it would make like a good CW show.
What the fuck you say? Hack Slash.
Hack Slash is about Cassie Hack and her friend. What are you looking at?
Omnibus.
Yeah, well, they're basically monster hunters. Not monster hunters. They're after serial killers like Jason or Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers.
Oh, so like historical. Cinematic.
So they hear about these like towns and they're being like.
It's a Scooby Doo for today.
Yeah, so she's her and Vlad are monster hunters. And they hear about like let's go to Camp Crystal. Well, I mean they don't use that, but I mean there's they
don't actually use the names.
They can't. There has been some. There has been like
so they don't use Jason.
Like, they had Hatchet. Did you see Hatchet?
I did see Hatchet.
Yeah, they had Hatchet in there.
Okay, right. That's what I can get away with by using it. So yes, please use my name. Yes, please use it.
Who was that doctor that brought the people back to life?
The Reanimator?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was in there.
Okay.
So, and then, that
sounds really cool.
Yeah, so I think that would make a great show.
Yeah. But so, like, when they talk about, like, Freddy or Jason, and so they have them in there, but they're not called that? Or they kind of resemble them?
Yeah, it's similar. There's, like, a Hellraiser kind of, like, Pinhead, you know. Yeah, they're not them, but they're, you know.
Okay, that sounds really cool. I like that.
Where it would be, like, Bobby Pinhead or something.
Right.
I'm just giving off example, but it's a really
it's
a really good story. Her like backstory is that her mom was a serial killer. She was the lunch lady. Where she would kill people, and she was actually the lunch lady at school, and she would get rid of the bodies by serving the children. Yes. Okay. So that's why she has this thing against these. They're like supernatural serial killers.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's not like high art or anything.
Well, I mean, that's what. Well, it's interesting you say that because I think one of the things that brings me into comic books is the art, right? Is the drawings, if it looks interesting, if it looks unique.
Yes.
Right, which is why I liked Saga, even though I didn't read many more than 2 episodes. It looks really cool.
Well, yeah, especially for Saga. I mean, you have the same artist on the every issue, and she designs all those characters and all those weird aliens and all those weird worlds. And I mean, there's dudes with TVs for heads and stuff. I mean, it's just like these simple designs that are just like, who thought of this? Like this woman that's half spider and half woman with these boobs hanging out. And you're like, oh, that's gross, but kind of hot.
Now, I want to check out Hack and Slash now. So that sounds pretty cool. So, okay. So what else out there do you see turning into that you've read recently?
Well, then I was also thinking about, instead of all these Image comics and create your own stuff that seem almost foregone conclusions that they're gonna get adapted at some way. I was thinking of other superheroes. There's actually another superhero universe called Valiant.
Oh, I think I heard that name before.
It was a pretty popular imprint in the boom of the '90s, but they introduced it about 5-6 years ago, and it's a very, very small, self-contained universe. Maybe 10 characters, 12 characters inhabit it.
Okay.
But when you have really good writers and a small universe like that, almost like the beginning of the Marvel universe was, where where everything can be contained like that, and the characters are interesting, I think it could make a really good superhero universe for movies, not TV shows. Movies, you know.
Okay.
You don't have the name recognition, which is the problem. But if you start small, which I hear they're going to start making movies of them. I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
With the variant.
With the Valiant characters. Okay. You know, they're going to introduce one and then another one.
I think I remember hearing something about that. Yeah.
Like there's Bloodshot. Bloodshot's a government killing machine that's he was a soldier that went into who almost like RoboCop, you know, he got blown away and they put this experiment on him, all these nanites into him.
Oh.
So if he gets shot up or anything, the nanites just heal him back up again.
Oh.
And he doesn't remember his life, but it's kind of there.
Very RoboCop, okay.
Yeah. But he doesn't even know if it's real or they just implanted it. Because there's a few different ones.
Oh.
So that's his whole thing. But he's slowly figuring out that he's working for this government agency and, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Really interesting. And then there's a group.
What's that one called?
That's called Bloodshot.
Bloodshot, okay. And that's a Valiant comic book hero.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Harbinger is a group of teenagers that almost like an X-Men. In the Valiant universe, they're X-Men they're called psiots. They're people that have latent powers in them. But only one guy in the world, he's almost like an evil Tony Stark. He's like this genius. Figured out how to make the psiot gene turn on. So when he does it, either you die or it turns on.
Oh, I see.
But if it does turn on, then you work for him. So he has like all these and it's a different power for everyone, kind of like mutants, you know.
Right.
So there's a group of them that are like, we're just doing this guy's bidding. He just wants to control the world. So they kind of go off on their own and like renegade, and he's like, you know, chasing them down with his psiots and everything.
Right. Okay.
So what I'm to believe is that those are supposed to be the first two movies if they do make movies, and then the next one will be like Bloodshot and Harbinger.
Right.
But there's also all these. There's Exo Manowar, which is almost like an Iron Man armor on a caveman.
Oh.
But it's an alien Iron Man armor. Like all these cavemen get or barbarians or whatever, like back in like so far away, get abducted by aliens to become slaves. And there's this like one armor they have that whoever can wear it on these aliens becomes king. But it goes to this one barbarian and he gets to wear it and he breaks free, comes back to Earth, and he finds out it's like nowadays.
Oh.
You know?
Interesting.
And the only thing he has is this armor, you know?
Huh.
So he has to readjust to this world, you know?
Yeah. And so they're trying to make all these into movies. You're thinking eventually they're going to... Yeah. If it's successful, the first two are successful, they'll branch off.
But the universe is really cool, you know?
Do you think that those can catch? Because superhero movies right now, most people have heard of Iron Man, Captain America, and Hulk. Thor from, you know, the
I mean, like, I remember when Iron Man came out, you know, they didn't know if it was going to be successful.
Well, no, of course not. It was the first one. It was a chance.
Right, but they were like, who's heard of Iron Man?
Right.
It's like, well, I thought everyone heard of Iron Man.
But it's been well established. I mean, even I knew who Iron Man was.
Yeah.
And I didn't read him or anything, but I knew who he was. Now, these other superheroes you're talking about, they're going to fall on the success of the other superhero genres that people are going to say, it's a superhero movie, never heard of it, I'm going to go see it because it's a superhero.
Well, that's why I think it would be smart to start with something like Bloodshot. It would be an action movie. You wouldn't know it's a superhero movie, a superhero universe, you know?
Don't you want to start with a superhero, though? Like the superhero, like Superman?
But think about it. If it's a cool action movie with, like, you know, this guy that's all nanonites and everything, and you have it well made like a John Wick type thing, and you're like, oh, cool. And then you have this other movie about these, you know, Harbinger Sire, and then you figure out they're in the same universe. And you're like, oh.
Well, that's a risky proposition, but it's interesting because I think most stuff that comes out is well known. For the most part. I mean, obviously, Atomic Blonde, no one knows what that is.
Yeah.
For the most part, right? I Am Legend, no one, I don't know how many people knew that came from something else.
Right, people more probably saw it because of Will Smith, you know.
It's interesting, though, that they would, if they try something that's maybe not superhero.
Well, what about Suicide Squad? No one probably heard of Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but because he had Batman in it. And you had Joker.
Yeah, but no one knew Batman was... Oh, Joker was in it.
Yeah, so once you put that in, you know that it's in the same universe, and that gives you reason to want to... I knew nothing about
Harley Quinn, though. Harley Quinn is so huge.
Well, sure, right.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so you put those in the mix.
That's why everybody saw it.
Exactly, right?
Speaking of which, I was watching I, Tonya before I came.
Oh, did you? Okay, I know you've been wanting to see that.
I didn't finish it, but... Man, she can't play Tonya Hardy. She's too fucking hot.
Right.
She does a really admirable job.
Does she do the porn?
I'm not that far yet.
Oh.
I'm not even to the Nancy Kerrigan part.
I bet they don't even go for the porn aspect.
I'm sure they do.
You think so?
Because I'm like a quarter into the movie and it's almost to the Nancy Kerrigan part.
Oh, okay.
So there's got to be a lot after.
Yeah.
And they do it almost as a comedy.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because, come on, it's a couple of... Those people were comedic as hell. You know, they're so stupid.
Oh, just on that situation. You know? Right. Yeah. Okay, so what else do you think will be coming out, or what do you want to come out from comic book to movie or TV show?
That's a really good question because everything is coming out.
Okay, so give me some of your favorites. Give me some stuff that you think should come
I
out.
never would have expected a Deadpool movie,
right?
An Aquaman movie,
right?
You know, seeing Cable in a movie.
Do you think Wonder Twins are next?
I wouldn't put anything.
Well, since DC's fucking everything up, I doubt that. Okay.
That's what I want. I want DC to give me a good Nightwing movie because Dick Grayson is one of my favorite
I just want to see a good... Well, I really liked Justice League. I liked Batman or Superman. But I just want to see them continue that because that's
why do you have to say it like that?
What?
I really liked it.
I really liked it because they're not very good movies. There's a lot of problems with them. But I really enjoyed the hell out of both of them.
Yeah, I've watched Justice League. I got Justice League. I've watched it a few times in the last couple months, and it's very rewatchable.
No, it totally is. And I watched it again, or twice anyways, and but they're just...
You just skip past the Steppenwolf parts because it's pointless.
Exactly, it's bad animation.
It really has nothing to do with the story.
Right. But there's a lot of great stuff to be had in those movies. So at any rate, it's because they're just not...
It's the characters that make them movies.
Yeah, it's because they're established. We know it. We don't need anything. Just give it to us. Okay, so what else do you want to see on the small screen or big
on the
screen?
Small screen? Well, while Damon Lindelof is doing Watchmen, I would like also someone to do, Alan Moore did Watchmen.
Yeah.
I'd like, right before Watchmen, he did, in Britain, he did Miracle Man.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Miracle Man was, in the 50s, it was originally Captain Marvel, Shazam.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
I like how you puffed your chest out.
Well, I don't have to puff my chest out.
Oh!
It's already puffed out.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I've been working out.
All right.
I went to the gym today.
Third time.
For all you ladies listening out there. All you, I'm sure there's at least one or
maybe
a half. Maybe there's
all right.
Anyway, they were reprinting Shazam comics in the UK, and they sent a cease and desist order because they were doing it illegally.
Right.
So they just reprinted him as Miracle Man, and they just changed his costume.
Okay.
So anyway, in 1982 or so, Alan Moore was like, "Oh, I'll remember this comic from when I was a boy," and he decided to write like an updated version of what happened to this character, and so he was like Billy Batson, the little kid that says Shazam and becomes an adult.
Okay.
Well, Billy Batson grew up. He's an adult, and he's having these dreams of being a superhero.
Ah.
And he doesn't, he just thinks things are... And then he starts noticing all this weird shit going on around him and everything, So anyway, I don't want to ruin the story for anybody, but, he eventually figures out who he is, says the word, becomes Miracle Man again. He doesn't go back to being his old self. He's like, This is who I am,
Oh, wow.
And then finds out that there's a evil corporate guy that was actually his old partner that also, but not, he was, so anyway, there was Kid Miracle Man.
Uh-huh.
So Kid Miracle Man never went back to being his alter ego, which was like a kid too,
Yeah.
But he grew up into like an adult, but he's still Kid Miracle Man. So it messed with his head. So he became like this evil, crazy person. Oh. So anyway, they have this big thing and they destroy London and everything. And then Miracle Man figures out he's like Superman, basically. You know, sure. He decides, you know what? I'm like a god to these people, and he becomes God. Huh? He turns the world into a utopia. That's how it ends.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for reading it. Yeah. All right. Fantastic.
Well, no, there's actually more after that.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, when you come down to comic books, I like the fact that they can go in so many different directions, because you can go.
You can do anything.
You can do anything with them.
The mind can imagine.
Yeah.
Because all you need is a pencil.
Exactly right. It's some ink, and it's sometimes not even some ink. As in The Walking Dead. But I love the fact that you can pull those into movie or television show now and really have something really unique, and that's
we have the technology.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it was never available before.
So I'm looking to see, they are doing Saga, you said?
No, I don't know anything about Saga.
Oh, okay.
They are doing Y the Last Man.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
I'm sure they're going to do Paper Girls. I'm pretty sure Southern Bastards.
Okay.
Scalped, I'm pretty sure. Everything is in production or has
slated to be in production, or at least
everything has a contract.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
What we will see, I don't know. I mean, there's so many platforms now.
Right.
Everything will probably come out.
And they might hold on to those for a while and say it's not time for it or whatever the case. But it's such a hot streak right now with superhero movies that they're going to keep going with that.
Yeah, and then, like you said, people might get sick of, there's too many superhero things. They don't all have to be superheroes,
That's not the case now, right? Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So you can have
could, people aren't going to say, oh, there's too many comic book movies on TV. Or TV shows. How would you even know? Would you know Southern Bastards about a coach in Alabama?
I wouldn't know that's comic book.
Exactly.
Right? Just like half the movies I read off on that 40 movies, I didn't realize came from comic books.
Right.
Or graphic novels or some type of form. So that's really cool. And, I look forward to you giving me more comics, because that's how I read my comics. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to reading Paper Girls. That looks really cool.
Yes.
And, I mean, shit, man. It's just, every time I need a comic, I've read the Ultimates Avengers series from you.
Which was basically the basis of the movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Right. I love it. And I've read most of all my 95% of what I've read comic book wise has come from Bob, and I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So, Bob, I really greatly appreciate you coming on to the J. Craig today and helping me not talk to myself this time. So that's cool. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, I had a pleasure. It was a good time. I'd like to do it again.
We should do it again. Yeah, absolutely. So, folks, thank you for listening to another episode of the J. Craig. Here with special guest Bob Giera.
Roberto.
That's right. And guys, if you're not going to thejaycraig.com, that's thejaycraig.com. You can get all our releases there. You can also follow us on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, and probably some more that I'm forgetting about saying. But
wow.
We're everywhere, and more to come.
We are going to sign off and watch Transformers Revenge of the Fallen right now, so we haven't seen it in a couple of days.
We're not going to see that.
What?
We're not going to watch that, but thank you very much, Bob.
I thought that was on the agenda.
Keep on listening, everybody. We'll keep talking. Adios. Say bye, Bob.
Bye, Bob.